the question, which of these is food waste? You know, this one is pretty green. There's some apples in it. This one's really green. This one's like a bunch of packaged stuff, and this just looks like trash. And these actually are all photos that have been taken from food waste composting facilities. So all of these are food waste, and that's one of the challenges with food waste is that it's very non-homogeneous. It comes in all different shapes, sizes. It changes throughout the year depending on what people are throwing in their bin. So it's always varying, it's always different. And with these changes come different requirements from the composting perspective. And we're going to talk about what these different feedstocks are. So source separated organics is probably one of the most common ways that people are getting food waste here in the States. This looks like a green waste bin pickup on the side of the road where you are putting your food waste and your green waste in a bin, and then a truck comes by and picks it up. So it's source separated. And of these, the two on the left look like source separated organics to me. FOGO, this is a term that's used in New Zealand, Australia, and parts of Europe, and it's pretty broad. It's just food organics, green organics. In Europe, they often call food waste bio-waste. And in Europe, it's a little bit different where they're typically collecting their food waste and their green waste separately. So in the States, we typically are collecting this in one bin. In Europe, they're different bins. And there's different reasons for that, but the food waste portion, they usually call bio-waste. Then we have OF-MSW, and this is the organic fraction of MSW. So MSW, for those that aren't familiar with the term, is municipal solid waste, also known as trash. And in trash, we have organics. I think around 50% of our trash is organic. So there's a huge amount of organics in there. And in a lot of places, they actually are taking that organic material out of the trash and composting it before they landfill it because of methane emissions and other considerations. So that right here on the right is the organic fraction of MSW. You can see it's very contaminated. Usually it's around 70% by weight organics and 30% by weight plastics, things like that, highly contaminated. Another very contaminated waste stream is ICI, or institutional, commercial, and industrial. So this would be waste from like an airport or a university or some other facility. And oftentimes this waste comes with more contamination because it's waste that it has a lot of different stakeholders that are dropping off of it. And a lot of those people might not be aware that there's composting. They might be passing through, and where they're from, they don't have composting. So usually ICI comes with a lot more contamination. There's also pre-consumer food waste, and this is from food manufacturers. So like someone that's making tofu, and then they have a bunch of tofu waste that comes out of this. This is technically a food waste, but it hasn't really hit the consumer market yet. And as such, it's usually pretty clean, and it can be a great feedstock for composting. DPAC is one that's been pretty hot lately here in the States, and this is waste that comes from depackaging. It's not really, I mean, I guess it's a type of food waste, but we're just mentioning it because it's kind of a hot topic right now. So this would be like a bunch of cans of soda or something. You put them through a DPAC, try to get as much of that aluminum out, and then you have all this liquid waste. Another common liquid waste is digestate. And this is usually a wet slurry that comes from co-digestion, comes out of a digester. And this is another feedstock that can be great for composting. This is one that also varies a lot depending on what the digestion process looks like. And we're not going to talk a lot about it here, but I think it's an interesting one because there's a lot of digesters being built right now. And I think there's a lot of synergy between composting and AD. So I guess one thing that I'll just point out, and I think we actually talk about it a little bit later, but with digestate, the energy has usually been stripped from the food waste. So one of the biggest challenges with composting digestate is getting it hot enough to evaporate the moisture and also to sanitize the material.